Hope we're well, boys. How good's the mountain look on the back? That's my mountain. I'm the king of that mountain. Just like you all have your own mountain. Don't ever forget that. Boys catching up on the replay, #replay. That's some sort of crazy death climbing mountain. As easy as it looks, that's definitely not the way to go. Some mountain in Argentina, I'll figure out the name and I'll let you know. But you all have your own mountain, men. You all have your own mountain to climb, and you are the king of your mountain. The climb is a hard one, but it's worthy. You are worthy of it, and it's worth it, sorry. I want to dive in today quickly and just talk about identifying triggers. I'm fucking cooked, man. It's been a big day. It's been a frustrating day. Good day. I wouldn't say great. Elements of greatness, for sure. Amazing connection with the family. But other areas, missed out on the opportunity to train today. And also, just some different frustrations with work. This is life, right? But what I found is myself getting into a little bit of a powwow state. And please understand, I'm saying this with respect and just sharing some of my stories, and you'll probably empathise with me as well and also relate to it. But I was having a little fucking powwow later this afternoon or earlier this afternoon, and I was just like, man, I was getting real frustrated and really triggered. I was like, this shouldn't be the way that it is. Why am I feeling this way? And I was just sort of processing and going through it. But it's important to recognise, man, when you are triggered and you have emotional setbacks, so to speak, or your emotions feel like they're getting hold of you, you need to let that run its course, but you can't take it over into the red zone. You can't cross the line where there's ultimately going to be something that happens which leads to regret. But there are two things I just want to open your thoughts and understanding when it comes to triggers. Two things usually lead to triggers. One is low energy. So when this trigger was happening, I was tired. I was mentally flat. I've been getting up earlier than normal. Kids have been very challenging this week as well. Lillian's having an operation tomorrow. Roman's recovering from his operation a few weeks ago. It's just fucking crazy, man. It's life. We all have different lists, right? But ultimately, I have been tired, and I'm not invincible. I'm incredibly fit, healthy, and strong, and my mental capacity, I've never give up. It's something I've taken from an approach of being an athlete, and I'm incredibly competitive, but it doesn't take away the feelings that I have, and none of us are robots. I do have a saying, sometimes it doesn't matter how you feel, it's what you do that's more important, but that's backed up with, as long as what you're doing that's more important changes the way that you feel. So sometimes we start doing things that are more important, but it doesn't initially change the way that we feel, which means we feel like we're getting cheated on by life. We're drawing out without any luck. And when you don't have energy is definitely one of the ways, or one of the things that causes a trigger to happen, which leads to frustration. The second one is an unexpected change. So when you have expectations, and we have natural assumptions, like I drive on this side of the road, you drive on that side of the road, you're not going to veer 1 meter to the right and kill me. Like, that's a pretty natural assumption, right? If you're on the road, you probably have that near-death experience without even knowing, hundreds if not thousands of times, depending on how far you drive. So it's pretty crazy, isn't it? Especially when you realise how finite life is. Podcast episode I did with Adam, just side note, he brought up a great note. Ads is like, he's my right hand. He's been phenomenal on the back end with our entire organisation. But he said, there's going to come a day when you'll pick up your kids for the last time. And when he said that in the podcast, it's like, and I'm like, well, I'm pretty strong. I'm going to be able to pick my kids up when they're adults, even though I'll be a 60-year-old man and I can still pick them up. I'll still be strong. But I thought about it, I was like, realistically, it makes you realise how finite time is and how temporary life is, which is why I just wanted to deliver this session with you, to really understand that your triggers don't own you. You choose how long they stay, but ultimately you become their master when you learn how to identify when they happen. They happen when you're tired. They happen when you're tired, and they happen when there's unexpected change from which you need to take action to change the circumstances of what you're presented with. Which means when you have both of those together, good luck, man. You don't have the energy, which means you're running low to start with, and then you have to find a level of resourcefulness to change an unexpected change that's come in front of you, to shift your circumstances, to put you back in the driver's seat, so to speak. And sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. We don't control everything. We get that. When you have those two, that's what leads to the triggers, fellas. It's never the resources, it's the resourcefulness that can lead to the breakdowns in which we then get triggered. We pull back into the emotions. Anger is an easy one. Anger is a pleasure. Don't ever forget that, because it brings absolute control and certainty inside of you and justifies your position and place in the world. And I used to have some rage in me, like playing footy, wanting to rip people's heads off, and being young, overweight, obese, fat boy. My older brothers used to pick on me. They used to call me KFC. That was one of my nicknames. Like, my brothers, don't get me wrong, I love them to death, and they would, like, anyone picked on me, they'd punch their heads in. But my older brothers used to have nicknames like KFC and that for me, and crash tackle me through the gyp rock in our kitchen, and just they wailed on me a fair bit. So I used to have this rage inside of me, and it's a pleasure. You've got to be careful of that. So when you're tired, you don't have energy, when there's an unexpected change from which you need to apply more effort and energy to change the circumstances because you've either made subtle assumptions or expectations, which is fair, but we should always hold a higher level of expectation of ourselves, not so much things we can't control. That's what leads to being triggered. Be cautious of crossing that red line though and going beyond the point of no return, because if that happens, the anger, the rage, the emotions, they start to build in the subconscious as a pattern of being a way to validate and justify when things turn shit with low energy or an unexpected change that says, no, I'm right, I need to do this. And expressing it is one of the great ways to move through it. Whether you think it, write it, feel it. Even me talking about this, I immediately feel a little bit better, but I literally had that feeling like I was going to get a punch on, like that little feeling in my chest, like I just wanted a punching bag. I should set one up here. I used to have one back in the day, it was awesome. It's good to have an outlet, is my point. You shouldn't suppress emotions, you shouldn't cover them up, you shouldn't be robotic, but you need to make sure that you keep them in check and control them. And if you're going to have your little fucking powwow, have it. Just like I had mine this afternoon. And I had my powwow and I'm like, you know what I need to do in moving our entire movement forward in a phenomenal way, it's hard work. There's some pretty tough things that I need to do to keep moving forward, but I know it's the right way. And that was me, creating a story in my head and not cutting corners, but creating a story in my head versus the reality of what I was facing and being so crystal clear on our tangible, quantifiable facts and proof of how we can create transformations in fathers' lives. It was something that was very confronting. It was like, fuck, all the evidence is right there. It's right here and there, but I have to keep breaking it down and revisiting it. And that takes mental energy. And that on top of a couple of other curveballs today just leaves me going, fuck man, I'm done for the day. We all have it, fellas. None of us are invincible, but triggers, identifying them comes down to two things. Knowing, you know what, I'm tired. I need a bit of rejuvenation. Take time out, create space, go to bed early, make sure you have a good meal, plenty of water, plenty of fluids, do your breathing, 4 seconds in through the nose, 8 out through the nose. Do that. 15 reps, that's 3 minutes. Man, that will completely change your chemical biology on the inside, as well as your recovery, to be fair. I do it before I go to bed every night. Take the time out. It's when you're tired or it's when there's unexpected change and you don't feel you have the gusto to be resourceful to change the environment. That's when we get triggered, because we don't have control and we don't have the steam to put up the fight anymore. Make sure you take note of that, men, because identifying that and being aware of that and acknowledging it, not accepting it long term, but acknowledging it, is the first step towards creating positive changes. And you know what? Even if you run on E, you can still speak some good words, you can still have some good presence and posture, you can still carry yourself well, so you don't blow your stack on the kids, on the family, on the missus, and you hold your cool, you stay calm, you stay in control the right way, instead of diverting for the easy option, which is an outlet of rage and anger, which becomes a pleasure, lo and behold, because it's created the only control that you can have, because you're tired and there's been an unexpected change. That's triggers, man. Identifying them, moving forward from them, always comes down to recharging the batteries, giving back to you, and just knowing that this too shall pass. Coming across on the level and going, you know what? Yeah, I'm not fucking perfect, but I'm not going to let this blow out the identity of who Al is. Al will rise again. He had a 3-hour powwow and he's fucking back. Take care, boys. Have an amazing night and I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.